Samsung has launched its brand new Galaxy A51 in India at a price of 23,999 rupees, and it is among the first phones in the series to get an Infinity O display and even a macro camera. So, is this lower mid-range offering worth considering over the competition? It's time to find out in our review. Now before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon so you're the first to know whenever we have a new video. The Galaxy A51 has a thin and light form factor which I quite liked. It has an all polycarbonate body, weighs just around 172 grams and is just 7.9 millimeters thick. The glossy body is prone to picking up fingerprints and the phone is a little slippery too, but thankfully Samsung provides a case in the box. The phone looks striking from the front thanks to the slim bezels all around. The A51 also uses a Super AMOLED panel with a Full HD Plus resolution which produces punchy colors and good sharpness. The display is one of the best aspects of this phone. Brightness is very good and colors look lively, which makes watching any type of content very enjoyable. Now the bottom firing speaker isn't very loud, but it is sufficient for personal listening. Biometric authentication works well, but it's a little slow. You get an in-display fingerprint sensor which takes a while before it authenticates you and unlocks the phone, and it's the same story with the facial recognition too. The software running on this phone is Samsung's One UI 2.0, which is based on Android 10. The new version of Samsung's interface brings some changes such as permission access notification from apps now show up at the bottom of the screen instead of the middle, making these easier to access or dismiss. This is just one of the many things Samsung is doing with One UI 2.0, and in general, I like the direction in which the software is heading. However, there's still some bloatware pre-installed, but most of this can be removed. The Samsung Galaxy A51 is powered by an Exynos 9611 SoC and is paired with 6GB of RAM and 128GB of storage, which is expandable via microSD card. Now, navigating the Galaxy A51's interface was relatively quick, but it didn't feel very fluid. There were some instances where we noticed a little lag in the system animations. Now, thankfully, the Exynos 9611 SoC is pretty competent at graphics. For example, PUBG Mobile and Asphalt 9 Legends both ran pretty well with good frame rates. Now, Samsung has gone with a 4000 mAh battery for the A51, and it posted a decent runtime of 14 hours and 55 minutes in our HD video loop test. We easily managed to get a full day's worth of regular use with enough power left over to get us through another half day. There is fast charging and we managed to charge the battery to 67% in an hour. The Galaxy A51 has a quad rear camera setup and you can see the specs on the screen right now. The main camera captures oversampled 12 megapixel photos by default, but you can shoot at the full 48 megapixel resolution if needed. Now, under good light, the A51 managed to capture detailed shots of objects that were in the center of the frame. However, we found that objects towards the edges typically looked a little blurry and were comparatively softer. In low light, the primary camera captured very good colors and details were fairly well represented too, with not a lot of noise. The wide-angle camera captures a lot more of any scene in the frame, but it does introduce some pretty bad barrel distortion. Even after enabling the ultra-wide lens correction option, some shots still looked unnaturally warped. Photos shot with this camera in low light looked visibly darker and had poorer details. Live focus mode blurs out the background for a more dramatic look. The image quality is good and the depth camera helps the Galaxy A51 to do a decent job of edge detection. You can also adjust the level of blur here. Close-ups turned out quite well too. Focusing speed is adequate and under good lighting, we managed to capture some pretty good shots. You can get a lot closer to your subject when using the macro camera. Colors were not bad and the sensor picks up a fair bit of detail. The Galaxy A51 can shoot video up to 4K resolution but without any stabilization. Video quality is not bad if shot under good light, but in low light, the clips are generally grainy and details are weak. You do get stabilization at 1080p, but as a result, there's also a noticeable shimmer effect when you walk about. Continuous autofocus is also a bit sluggisher. This shimmer effect is amplified in low light and looks jarring. Now you can use a super steady shooting mode which uses the wide-angle camera to record video. The stabilization is better, but details are noticeably weaker. The 32 megapixel front camera captures 12 megapixel or 8 megapixel oversample shots depending on the perspective you choose. Selfies generally weren't very clear as skin tones were smoothened a bit too much and shots ended up looking a little dull overall. Details were fairly good in low light though, but with a slight lack in sharpness. The Samsung Galaxy A51 is currently available in only one variant with 6GB of RAM at 23,999 rupees. Now, we would have preferred a more powerful processor at this price. The biometric sensors aren't the quickest and the overall camera performance is a little underwhelming. Now, in terms of the competition, the Redmi K20 Pro gets you a flagship grade processor, an HDR display, more premium construction materials and better cameras for just 1,000 rupees more. If you'll be gaming a lot, then yes, the Redmi K20 Pro would be a more sensible choice. In fact, for a bit less money, you could also get the Redmi K20, which is also very capable. However, there is something quite likable about the Galaxy A51, and despite the not so great pricing, it does offer a very polished experience. For instance, you do get Android 10 out of the box, it is relatively slim and light, it has a great display and also pretty solid battery life, but most of all, you do get that Samsung brand value. So thanks for watching our review, and for all things tech, log on to gadgets360.com.